हाय दोस्तों, नमस्कार. Welcome to our YouTube channel BajiRao IAS Academy. Today is 20th of September and we are going to discuss about daily Hindu newspaper analysis. But before starting our discussion, we on the daily basis discusses some of the prelims PYQs. So you have to attempt the question and the answer will be given to you in the last session of this series. So the question is, in India, which of the following is responsible for maintaining price stability by controlling inflation? When we talk about inflation, it means general rise in the price. Suppose a commodity whose price is 10 rupee and in the next day you go to the market and buy the same product, the price gets increased by 5 rupees, yani ki total 15 rupees. So the inflation rate here is 50% because from 10 rupees the price got rise to 15 rupees. That means the inflation rate is 50%. So inflation in simple terms means general rise in the price. So in India, who decides or who controls the inflation? You have to answer in this question. It is very much easy if you are well aware, otherwise it will be difficult to answer. So wait for the end for the answer. But you have the options like Department of Consumer Affairs, second Expenditure Management Commission, third Financial Stability and Development Council, and the fourth RBI. You can answer in the comment section or you can watch the series till end to get the answer. Okay, and also you need to attempt the mains question, because in the discussion we will talk about today women's reservation bill, that is very much highlighted topic, and UPSC even may ask this question because women related issue is very much favorite for the UPSC. And you can see in every year like this year as well, the mains examination consists of some of the questions that deals with the women issue. Okay, that's why you need to attempt this as well. And for answering, you can also join our Telegram group, which has been mentioned into the description box. Okay, you can go there, you can click the link and you can join our Telegram channel. And do like, share, subscribe our channel for further updates and for further notes, PDFs as well. Okay, so the question is, making it legally binding to have a fair proportion of women in the elected bodies can ensure political empowerment of women in India. Comment. So the women reservation bill will lead to political empowerment. How? You have to mention here. So that is the point, and you need to generate point into your mind so that you can answer it. And this is a long term process. If you are not involved from initial days of your preparation, then definitely this will affect your selection. Okay, so in today we have to discuss very important articles, because in the Hindu as well as in various newspaper, these two articles is getting covered, and also for the examination point of view this is also very important. The first issue related to the Khalistani issue that has now been arisen because of the India Canada tussle over the issue of Khalistan. So here we will decode the Khalistani issue and the recent tussle in the India-Canada relation, and what will be the impact of this issue in the India-Canada relation we are going to discuss. And also the Western countries like USA and Australia also highlighted these concerns, so we will discuss one by one in great detail. Here the news only talks about the issue, but we have to move beyond the issue. You have to move to the historical perspective from where the demand for Khalistan arose, and ultimately why this demand and how India reacted. We have to discuss all these. And the second article is also very important, that deals with women's reservation bill, which got approval from parliament and it talks about giving 33% reservation in Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly for the women, as they are having less political representation in this house. However, when we talk about the voting percentage, these are increasing. But when we talk about the percentage of representation of women in these house, there is very less contribution. But in India, women's population is about 50%, but its political representation is only about 14% approx. We will discuss in detail as well. Okay. And in the last, we are going to discuss about prelims rapid fire for the prelims purpose, where we will discuss about Hoysaleshwara temple, which has been declared now as UNESCO 42nd World Heritage Site. And also UPSC had asked in prelims about the Hoysaleshwara temple as well as the art and architecture related to it. Okay, so we will discuss, and the second will be related to WHO report on blood pressure. Actually, the issue of hypertension is very much on rise, not only in India but in the world as well. So what is hypertension? It is basically a response due to the high blood pressure, and because of the high blood pressure, a person gets to face hypertension, and because of that, the non-communicable disease like heart attack, kidney failure is becoming common and common. So what is the talks which has been represented in this article? We will also discuss. So be with us. We will discuss in great elaboration of these articles. And if you are liking our initiatives, please do like, share, subscribe among your friend circle so that your friend do also get benefited, because education must be spreaded and you must have the responsibility to spread our initiatives so as to have wider reachability. So friends, shifting our focus to first editorial article, that article will be covered under GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. Okay, so what is the recent context here? Well, you already know that in India as well as in the global media, there is rising news about the India-Canada tussle or the ties breakdown because of the recent context which was building up. So we have to go into some previous times, that is from where this issue arose. So basically, when India organized its G20 presidency, they invited various member countries, including the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And even when our Prime Minister held bilateral meetings with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, they raised concerns about anti-India sentiments which was getting propagated in Canada, and talked about that your authority is not taking good actions to curb anti-India rise or the secessionist movement which was spreading in Canada. And so there was a need to curb on it. So when this issue was raised by our Prime Minister, the Canadian media as well as the world media highlighted this at the global level, and the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, felt insulted, like so to cover up his image when they went to Canada back. So in his parliament, they talked about the death of the separatist leader of the Khalistani, that is Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and they brought big allegations for India, like India has a linkages for the death of Canadian citizen Hardeep Singh Nijjar. That situation and that statement created disturbances in India-Canada relations afterwards. That's why in the newspaper this issue is getting covered more and more. We will talk about the person Hardeep Singh Nizar, but before that, we have to understand what was its after impact. After impact was that, like the Indian diplomats in Canada was suspended, and in reaction, India do also have the same response. Like they summoned the Canadian diplomats and also suspended them. So this was like the action reaction situation. So ultimately, what is the issue behind this? Why the Khalistani issue gets raised in Canada? And we have to understand about the recent India anti-India activity which was going on in Canada. That's why India raised the concerns. Like on June 4, massive parade was organized by pro-Khalistani supporters the day before 39th anniversary of Operation Blue Star. And Operation Blue Star we will talk. And in this massive parade, the most important news to highlight is that the separatists glorified the assassination of the then Prime Minister, that is Indira Gandhi. That was a very bad moment for India. That's why the issue was highlighted by India. And also, you had already heard about Indian embassy and diplomats were attacked in Canada by pro-Khalistani separatists. Now you have to understand all these incidents were going in Canada, but Canadian authority were not able to deal with that. That means what? More or less, there was green clearances from Canadian authority. What does it signify? It signifies like this, because in another territory, if something disturbing is going to occur, then the authority must stop it. If not stopping, what does it means? That there may be the interference also of the authority as well. That is the point. Okay, that's why India raised the concern. You can see the image or the pictures, how badly it represented. And this is the image, and this is the attack on the diplomats in Canada. So all these creates disturbances in the relations. So basic point was that, hope you understood. And we have also talked about the context behind G20 bilateral meet, that when the Canadian PM came and Indian PM raised this issue, and to cover up, Indian diplomat was suspended and had deep allegations of India's link in the killing of the Hardeep Singh Nizar. Now talk about Hardeep Singh Nizar. This personality is wanted in India. Why wanted in India? Because it has allegations that it was involved in 1990s violence which was occurred in Punjab, and also due to that they had Interpol red corner notice. So ultimately, on June 18, this personality was killed by unidentified person in Canada, and there was no proper investigation who killed them, why killed them, but the Canadian Prime Minister is directly alligating to India. That is the big factor to note here. Okay, so India retaliated by its response. Like India talked, New Delhi has denied these allegations and described them as unsubstantiated and absurd. And also, it reflects like the Canadian PM is doing vote bank politics. Why vote bank politics? Because in Canada there is large number of Sikh population who lives there, and that's why to garner their support, these type of actions is performed by them, so that vote bank politics gets attracted, and this is very big disturbing issue. So that is the point. Now we will understand about the basic Khalistan movement, how it occurred, what is the history behind it, so that you have proper understanding about that. And if any article comes in the paper, you will be able to understand after listening the discussion. Please listen it carefully. Okay, so when we talk about Khalistan movement, it has its origin after India's independence. When India got independent, then definitely we have India and we have Pakistan. So you can see that this side is Pakistan, this side is India. And now in India we have the Punjab and we have the Pakistan, and in Pakistan also there is a Sikh community lives there. So basically what was the point, that after independence the Sikh groups, some of the Sikh groups tried to talk about Punjab sovereignty. They talked about separation of Punjab and having the autonomous state by demanding separate sovereign state in the present day Punjab, and it comprised with the region like India and Pakistan where the Sikh population lives. Okay, and the Punjab province, which was divided between India and Pakistan, they saw vast communal violence, and due to that we have the generation of millions of refugees. And when we talk about Lahore, Lahore was established by Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and Maharaja Ranjit Singh is known for creating great Sikh empire. But this Lahore went to Pakistan, including the location Nankana Sahib, which was the birthplace of Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikh religion. Okay, but what is the issue after independence? Most of the Sikh lives in India, and also some of the Sikh community lives in Pakistan. So some of the separatist group organizations talked about the independence, the autonomy towards Punjab or the Sikh community. That was the point. Okay, so that's why from there the issue was raised, and from onwards there was a struggle for a greater autonomy to these regions, like Punjabi Suba movement. It was created for demand of Punjabi speaking state. And when the India and Pakistan was bifurcated after independence, you should know that that time Punjab was comprised of Haryana, Punjab was comprised of Himachal Pradesh and the present territory of Punjab. So that was mixture of different religion and languages. So Punjabi Suba movement started demanding for Punjabi speaking state, and that's why when the protest got too much in 1966, the state of Punjab was reorganized to reflect the Punjab Suba demand, and that's why the Punjab was trifurcated. Trifurcated means divided in three parts, which three parts we have already talked about. Okay, that is also the point. And after that, despite all of these actions, the protest and the demand by the separatist group didn't stop, and there was Anandpur Sahib resolution, and this resolution was created in 1973 by the leaders of Akali Dal, and they have raised some of the demands via this resolution, and one of the demands was autonomy for the state of Punjab, including separate state along with right to frame its own internal constitution. That was very important thing to note, because this indicates what? This indicates more and more autonomy. In fact, the right to have bigger autonomy. That is the point. Okay, and when the time passed, the period of 1971 onwards was very much disturbing, and from that times the demand for Khalistan was raised, not only at India level but at global level, as highlighted by some of the Western media like New York Times. And New York Times talked about the issue of this Khalistan, and the global media fueled it. because as you all know, Western media always try to criticize India. That is also one of the point to note. So in the 1970s period, there was rise of Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, and this person who was also a separatist leader for the pro-Khalistani movement, they talked about separation of Punjab and creation of Khalistan as a separate country. So, for this to fulfill their aspirations, they try to accumulate the youth's sentiments, and they also try to raise violence. Along with, they become the voice of Sikh, and by 1982 he took up residence inside the Golden Temple and directing demonstration and clashes with the police. And this incident, you know about it already. And after this incident, when the government of India see these incidents as a secession movement, then the government came into the action and launched Operation Blue Star. And what was Operation Blue Star? It was military operation conducted by the Indian government in June 1984 to remove the Sikh militants who had taken shelter in the Golden Temple complex in Amritsar, Punjab. And why this operation was conducted, we have already talked, like isolating violence and separatist activities. And the leader was Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, and they wanted to create independent Sikh state called Khalistan. So the government need to take action, and government under Operation Blue Star took the action as well. So we have talked about the basics, the rise of the Khalistani movement, and from where it rise, and the impact is now we are seeing as well. And you have to understand about the Canada and the linkages of Khalistani, because one of the most Sikh population lives in Canada. Approx 2.1% of the population in Canada belongs to Sikh community. That's why the impact of this type of separatist issue is very much highlighted in Canada. So you can understand, as per the 2021 Canadian census, Sikh accounts for 2.1% of Canada population, and one of the important city, that is your Brampton city, which is home to Canada's largest Sikh population. But despite all these issues was going on, our Prime Minister tried to resolve the relations and try to make the relations to be moved forward by removing the mistrust over the Khalistan issue. But the relations was started to improve after in 2015 our Prime Minister went to Canada and tried to improve the relation, and afterwards the Foreign Minister of Canada do visited India, and the relation was going on in a good direction. But now again the relation got disturbed, and because of these situation, maybe the trade investments get affected. And also there was a talks over the free trade agreement between India and Canada. The trade agreement may get delayed. That is also important point. So we have discussed all of the issue in great detail. Hope you understood. If you liked our article, please do share and subscribe with your friend circle. So now moving on the second article, that is your GS paper 2, and it will cover the women reservation bill. So when we talk about women, it represents 50% of India's population. But when we talk about her political representation in Lok Sabha, it is only 14%. That means approx very much less as compared to the population. So there was a need that to improve the women's participation in politics and also to empower women in politics, there was a need to reserve some of the seats for women. And for that, there was bills coming for the women's reservation, but ultimately that bill was not passed because of opposition from the opposition party. So this was a scenario. So when we talk about its basic, in 1996, women reservation bill for the first time was introduced into the house, but because of the opposition from the opposition party, it was never passed. And again, it was reintroduced in 2004, but it was again not passed because of the opposition from the opposition leaders. And again, when the BJP government came in 2014, in their manifesto, there was clear cut highlight that the present government is going to bring the women reservation bill. So this is the historical background that bills over bills was getting introduced into the house, but when comes to the passing of the bill, that was ultimately not decided. Why not decided? Because one, the Indian National Congress या फिर Congress party was in ruling, then the BJP opposed, and when the BJP was in ruling party, then Congress opposed. All these issue and the tussle led to only reintroduction and reintroduction, but not clearance over this bill. So that is the point. So we will discuss about the context, historical context, as well as some of the important points regarding this women's reservation bill. And you should know for the prelims purpose that this women's reservation bill is your 128th constitutional amendment bill 2023. And when we talk about constitutional amendment bill, there is a big difference between bill and act. Can you tell me about the difference between bill and act? Okay, and this bill seeks to provide 33% quota to women in parliament and state legislature, and it is now also known as Nari Shakti Bandhan Adhiniyam, and this will be valid for 15 years, meaning after 15 years this provision of reservation may get automatically terminated. That's why it is also known as sunset clause, because it gets automatically terminated. However, Parliament has been given power that they can extend this reservation for more years. So that is also the point to note. Okay. So let us understand about the historical background. We have talked that in 1996 there was first attempt by the United Front government, and that government brought the Constitution 81st Amendment Bill 1996 in the Lok Sabha, and it sought to reserve one-third of seats for women in parliament and state legislature. And after that, in 2004, and the next government brought bills over bills, but it was not cleared. And after 2014, the BJP's 2014 manifesto in 2019 talked about its commitment to bring it, and after 10 years from the rule, they brought it. Okay. So why there is a need? First of all, you have to understand that our society is patriarchal in nature. It is male dominated society, and in male dominated society, the equality between men and women, whether it has been mentioned in the constitution, but in real life it is absent. Male dominates over the house, over the property rights, over the political participation. Even in the panchayati system, we see about the rise of panchpati. Why panchpati? Because of the patriarchal nature, that even woman has been elected as a representative, but the directions, the rulings is given by her husband. That is also important point. Okay, so women's turnout has been steadily increasing, meaning women's participation in the boards is increasing year by year. And you can understand that in 1962 the women's voting turnout was only 46.6%, whereas male voters turnout was 62%. But in 2019 election, the women had left the men behind, because 67.2% voting women had participated, as compared to 67% men only participated in 2019 polls. but it is related to the voter turnout. But when we talk about the political participation, the political representation, it is very much less. So we have to increase her political participation in the Lok Sabha, in the Raj Sabha, in the state legislative assembly. But from a historical perspective, we can see that even though there was a steady rise in the political representation, but there was not quantum jump. We have to take quantum jump because only 22 women were MPs in the first Lok Sabha, about 4.4% of the total 489 Lok Sabha MP. And even after so many years, in 2019 Lok Sabha election, the number of women was only 78, which represents only 14.36% of the total seat. That means less than half as proposed in the bill. What the percentage proposed in the bill? It is 33%. Okay. So why there is a need? We have the traditional constraint in India for the participation of women in politics, like patriarchal values and norms, lack of family support, lack of education and awareness, economic dependency is on the males, is on the male parents, along with criminalization of politics, okay, muscle power, and less representation of women in the politics. These all are the points. That's why we need. Okay, so that is the point. And now we have to talk about the pros and cons. Here we are talking about the pros. You have to give answers about the cons. Okay, cons means what? The negative points. If women's reservation gets approved, what may be the negative concerns? Okay, and we are talking about the positive points like empowerment of women, meaning the women in the house, the society will get empowered, they will get more public participation, they will have the courage to move beyond their houses, beyond their housewife logo. Okay, and gender sensitization in lawmaking, because even women's participation in total population is about 50%, but when we talk about the legislation and laws making, majority of men prepares the legislation. Why? Because women's share is very much less. Along with, there may be the decriminalization of politics, as there will be fewer criminal charges against women legislature as compared to the male legislature. And can you tell me about the criminal charges in terms of percentage about the total MPs we have? This is also an important topic, criminalization of politics, rise in criminalization of politics, and UPSC has very much asked about these type of question. Okay, so now after discussion of the editorial, we are shifting to the prelims rapid fire series. Here we will going to talk about some of the important news. First and foremost important news is your Hoyshaleshwara temple got UNESCO World Heritage Site. Earlier we have discussed about the Santi Niketan, who also got the World Heritage Site tag, and that was 41st, and after inclusion of Hoyshaleshwara temple it will be 42nd. That is important milestone for India in terms of the cultural heritage, in terms of cultural protection, in terms of soft power, in terms of reflecting India's culture at the global platform. That signifies India's glorious history in the past. So that important point to note. And when we talk about this temple, we have to know about the basics like Hoyshaleshwara Empire. So if we talk about the political history, Hoyshaleshwara, which ruled between the period of 1026 AD to 1343 AD, were feudatories of Chalukyas of Kalyana, and Dwar Samudra, which was earlier known as Halebidu, was their capital, and Sala was the founder of this dynasty, and Vishnuvardhana was the greatest ruler in Hoyshaleshwara dynasty. And you can see the extent of the empire that spread in Karnataka, some parts of Tamil Nadu, some parts of Telangana, some parts of Andhra. Okay, you should understand. And UPSC prelims there is very much question about the temple, about its location. That's why it is very, very important to remember, because maybe there is chance that in the UPSC prelims next year the question may come. Okay, so if we talk about the art and architecture of Hoysala temple, the Hoysala combined Vaishara style and Dravida style. Vaishara style means it is a combination of Vaishara style means Nagara style and Dravida style. Nagara style is basically the style of temple construction or the temple architecture in northern India, and the Dravida style is the style of temple construction in the southern India. And you mix both of them, you will conclude to the Vaishara style. That is the style which was prominent in the Hoysala temple art construction, and it was like a star-shaped platform. The temple was constructed based on a star-shaped platform. This was like that. Okay, and most of their temples in Bhumija style, and in the Bhumija style, miniature Sikharas is carved on the outer wall of the temple. Miniature Sikhara means this is the temple, and the Sikhara is the top of the temple, and miniature Sikhara means a small Sikharas was there like this. Okay, like this. So this was important feature. And when we talk about the examples of Hoysala temple, then there are Chanakeshava temple at Beluru, then we have the Hoysala temple at Halebidu, and we have the Kesava temple at Somnathpur. All are in Karnataka. So you have to understand and you have to be exact to the location of the temple, because in the previous year questions there was exact question asked about the location, like Hoysala temple is located where, to Halebidu, which is in Karnataka. That is an important point to note. So now moving to the second article discussion, it is related to WHO's report on high blood pressure. And when we talk about WHO, it means World Health Organization. This is a global organization that deals with the health concern at the global level, like dealing with the pandemic as well as promoting health collaboration between the countries and all of that. Okay, so when we talk about high blood pressure, meaning you are facing hypertension. High blood pressure leads to hypertension. Hypertension is a symbol, and a person may get heart failure, a person may get kidney failure, and all these type of issue comes under the hypertension. Okay, so you need to understand. So what is the point? This report is first ever report which has been published by World Health Organization, and it has raised concerns about the rising hypertension issue. Okay, and hypertension have direct impact on blood pressure. And also in the paper Lancet, there was a data that the hypertension prevalence in male is about 24%, and in female it is about 21%, and there is a rise because in the previous period, that is your 2015-16, it was 19% and 17% respectively, meaning the issue of hypertension is rising as well. So there is also important point to note that less than 20% of the hypertension patients in India has blood pressure under control, meaning they have higher blood pressure. So this causes the disease, and this may also lead to the earlier death and mortality. And why this high BP or the hypertension issue is rising? Because of the lifestyle changes we are facing. We are facing the issue of work from home, along with the eating habits is going to be more superficial rather than the nutrition based eating. So that is also impacting our health. And you can understand the WHO report states that hypertension affects 1 in 3 adults worldwide. Okay, and also the number of people living with hypertension. And you should understand, when we talk about hypertension, meaning the blood pressure is about 140 plus 90 mmHg or higher, then it can be referred as hypertension. And it has been doubled between the period of 1990 to 2019, you can understand from here. Okay, so that is the important thing to note. And why this is the growing concern, because people even have the hypertension issue but they are unaware about their problem. But the hypertension issue can be resolved by taking medications, but even people are not getting the medications because of unawareness, because of the money issue, and all of these. So that is the point, and that the report says. So we have discussed all this. Now the answer to the questions for the prelims is RBI, because RBI has the responsibility to control inflation. And you should also know that the inflation target RBI keeps is your 2% to 6%. That is within this range RBI tries to make the inflation rate, and if it goes about and above 6%, that means RBI is failing to achieve the target. And in the recent month and times, we are seeing that the inflation target is being breached because of the rise in food prices, and along with the global disturbances because of Russia Ukraine war and other disturbances. So we have discussed all these articles in detail. Hope you understood. If you are liking our initiatives, please do like, share, and subscribe, and share in your friend circle. Thank you, friends. Thank you for the today's discussion. We will meet again with next discussion series.